Today, we have a very special guest with us today, Kailee Morgue. You may know her from her popular songs, Siren, Medusa, Ghost of Mine, and one of my favorites, This Is Why I'm Hot. I love that song. I love rocking out to that song. Kailee's current single, STFU, was released in July. You can find that on Spotify, as well as her latest EP, Trainwreck. I need to pause there because I loved the video for Butterflies. I loved it. I did, not only just because of the content, the witchcraft and all that, but I also loved how at the end, it was kind of a misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. And I find that to be so true. Sometimes we rush to judgments without knowing all of the facts. And so I love that little twist at the end. So yeah, I wanted to put that out there.
That video was supposed to be it was supposed to be like a 4-part series, because the whole idea was like I do the hex in that first video, and then because it's a misunderstanding, like the 3 videos after that would be like it coming back to me in threes. So it was going to be like super cool, very like witchy vibes, the whole thing. But
yes,
I just ended up like making an album, and I was like, dang, like I need to pick like whether I want this to be a little project or an album. But I wish that could have I love that, because it was really fun.
Absolutely. Harm none, do as thou will. Absolutely. I love that. So before we get started, I wanted to quote Atwood magazine, because I thought this was such a good summary of you. And they described your singing as light and dark, like a dream within a nightmare, or vice versa. I was like, wow, that phrase, that just totally summed up like what I was feeling, the highs and the lows. But what I love so much is how you put and you bring your spirituality into your music. Mm-hmm. That just so drew me in. Obviously, we're Sensing Spirit with Kristen and Kimmy, so we're all about spirituality, but Kristen and I are also singers, and we struggle sometimes to figure out how to like marry the two. Mm-hmm. So I just love how you do that.
It's definitely hard. Like Siren was just kind of an example of me like becoming aware of that, and like the light and the dark, and playing with that and being like, oh cool, it's like I can be saying kind of, like darker thoughts, darker things with like a sweeter voice. And also, yes, like kind of knowing how personal you want to be with your spirituality, with your music, because it feels like 2 different things sometimes.
Absolutely. It's so hard living this dual life, so hard. And singing and your spirituality are so personal. And so how like open you are with it, like that was one of the first things that grabbed me with you, because like I said, I've struggled myself with how do I bring these together? And here you do it to me. I'm sure you put great thought into it, but from a listener, it's so effortlessly, like how you just bring them together.
I think it's just like years of doing it, and like also music like coming to me as a form of like figuring out my thoughts, and it's almost like very meditative to me, and like getting into sorry, like my pets are so loud right now, but getting into that space, like speaking of a safe space, a little quiet space, getting to that space sometimes I realized like felt the same with music, where I was just kind of like in my own world for a second, writing music on guitar, and those 2 things becoming the same thing the older I got, and really like figuring out my spirituality, because I wasn't raised like expressing that how I do now. So yeah, the older I got, it definitely became easier, but it's just finding that sweet spot of like wanting to make cool music, but then like needing to make personal music,
Absolutely. Well, you definitely nailed it. You don't even have to think hard about it, because you're so doing it. So speaking of your spirituality, I don't think it's any surprise that you practice witchcraft. So I would love to know, how did witchcraft enter your life, and how did you end up incorporating it into your lifestyle? So how was it introduced to you?
I can't remember like exactly how it was introduced to me. I feel like the timing was so perfect, honestly, because I was raised and my family's Christian, and they're very, very religious, and like I'd gone to church my entire life. I had at one point, like when I was 8 or 9, like I used to think that like God could talk through me. Like I was very like, this is what I believe in, and I still, like I understand it, and I have conversations with my mom about it, but I felt like something just felt weird to me, and I was like, I feel like I need to find myself in something that like serves me. I don't know, like I feel like I was like, I don't know what it is, but like I just feel myself pulling away and needing to find something. And sorry, they're being so
No worries.
but
I have 2 dogs, so don't worry about
yeah,
it.
it's like a dog and a cat, and they're just like running in circles right now. But yeah, no, I started pulling away, and in high school I met some friends that like were already kind of in this like agnostic headspace of just like, what do we believe in? Because I feel it and I know there's something there that that I believe in, but I can't like pin it down. And so yeah, I think it just like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember like I knew of witchcraft and like paganism and all that stuff growing up. I just never like explored it, and I think obviously there is a bad stigma to it, so I was like, okay, like what is this like, it's bad, like should I be worried about it, what is like the karmic stuff, like I just didn't know what to expect. And so I kind of eased my way into it when I was 17 by like reading about it and just like doing a lot of research, because I didn't want to just like be like, cool, I'm going to do this and then start doing it. So I did a lot of research, did some like baby witch stuff. And then by the time I was like 20 or 21, I started doing spells. So I literally waited like 3 years of just being like, is this what I want to do? Is this what I feel is right for me? And even then, like I've done witchcraft, just, it's been like a very, like I've kind of done it alone, and like it's been something that I've done by myself. I'm like a solitary witch, and I think that's why like even now when I talk about it, I don't think, like I feel like I'm always going to consider myself a baby witch, because I don't really have a point of reference. I've never been in a coven. Like I've never, even my friends that like witchcraft, it's like not, I think a lot of people are interested in it and are not into it, so like I have no really point of reference of like how deep into it. But I've like definitely found a balance of it as far as like how it plays into my life now. I've kind of found a balance of feeling pulled to it sometimes and also needing a break, because I think every witch like understands that
absolutely
needing to just like pull yourself away and recharge and then
absolutely
get back into it. But yeah, it's been like the past few years I've just really found myself like, when I feel like I need to get back into that headspace, it's like I just know, and I'm just like, okay, you know what, like I want to start reading about this again or do this, and like I'll pull away from it, and it's just kind of how it's been. But I think that that's like my process, and that's what's worked best for me. So
I think that's very interesting, because that's how I started. When I was a teenager, I also grew up with a religious background, and there was something too that was pulling me, and I didn't know what it was. And I just knew that there was something a little more than, the typical going to church and Bible study and all that stuff. And I found myself being pulled toward witchcraft because it was the closest thing to what my soul was feeling and searching for. And I too didn't have a coven or anything. I was a solo witch. So I was reading Spiral Dance and Supermarket Witch. Like I was reading everything, and it just was the thing that felt the most real to me. It's really hard to explain, but I feel like you understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Literally, like when I said, like when I get in those like meditative moments and when I'm like practicing, I feel something. Like I can, when I'm done with, like if I'm doing a spell or even just ritual, because I think there's also a misconception that's like you have to do spells all the time. It's like just little practices, rituals, cleansing. It's like a lot of different things that whatever feels like part of your practice, it could be part of your practice. So like when I do things like that, there is this like just really in tune feeling I have with myself. And I think that was such interesting part of it, because I'm not sure people know that it's not always just like covens and cults and like it's like not this thing that's like we all are thinking the same thing and we're gonna like,
Exactly.
it's very like introspective. And I, as somebody that like has, obviously as an artist, like I have my mental stuff, it was really like just interesting for me to lean that way and start like learning myself. And obviously like
Yes.
when you practice, you have to get into a headspace that is just not distracted by this and that, and like just really peeling the layers back. And doing that work, I think like accidentally set me up to feel that way when I'm not practicing, and to just like really focus and like not be so easily swayed by like thoughts and things that might just,
Absolutely.
you know, like before when I was in high school, things used to really just like rock me. And now it's, I have a little bit of strength from like understanding that space, like going to my little safe space that I'm usually in. So
That's awesome. You talked about you know, having that practice, and it made you kind of get to know yourself better, get to know your soul. And so many people, there are a lot of misconceptions about witchcraft and spirituality in general. And, you know, they have whatever they want to think, you know, it's of the devil or this or that. But like, honestly, it's about honoring yourself, your spirituality, getting to know yourself, like shutting out the outside world, and really just understanding who you want to be, but loving yourself too, and then being able to, you know, spread that to others. I really wish that others would even just have a little bit of that experience, which is why we do this show, to kind of bring that out. But
I mean, it's so like it's just, I think that's why it's like I think a lot of people talk about, oh, there's like these stigmas and people think it has to do with the devil and this and that, and it seems like it like never really, it still surprises me, because I understand, like I'm like, oh yeah, like maybe people don't actually think that anymore, but I really don't think people understand like that, as when you practice you learn that like your magic is a projection of yourself. So yes, you're gonna have to face yourself, you're gonna have to like do all of this internal work, and it's therapeutic, it's like sometimes emotional, it's cathartic, but that's what magic is. And so it's, yeah, it's just like knowing yourself and connecting in that way to project that energy of what you want to draw in. Like you have to be your best self, and you have, and the stuff that you don't want to face, like you'll have to face, like you have to do that like shadow work and all of that stuff. Just
absolutely
very hard.
Yes, shadow work is brutal, but it is necessary. But it is brutal. So I read an interview that you are an empathic person. So when I heard that, I started saying, oh, is she an empath? So do you consider yourself an empath, or are you just are you just empathic? Or
I think I guess like I'm not sure I would, like I said with like me calling myself a baby witch, like I feel like I never want to like put that on myself, because I think I'm never going to be in a place where I just like know everything at all times. But I do think I'm very empathetic, and I I mean I literally have a tattoo that says empathy, but I just always like, I think, I mean, I was raised in like a big family, and I've just had so many people around me that I'm not sure if it's being an empath or just like emotionally intuitive, but I just feel very connected to feeling things sometimes, even before I can really like process them. Like I'm just like, that's how that feels. I don't know if it's anger or sadness yet. Like I don't know if it's this, but I just know like something's boiling up, and I can feel that in other people. And I know a lot of people like make jokes about that now, because so many people are like, I'm an empath, and but I think I'm definitely like emotionally intuitive. Also, like my dad's a therapist. Like I have a lot of like tools under my belt, you know.
That's awesome. That is true. There are a lot of people who are like, I think I'm an empath or whatever, and that's fine, because you know what, like there is a large percentage of people who are empaths, and so they probably are. But how you said you can feel the energy of somebody around you, that's totally like how you know that, you know, that you're connecting into that energy. And And I'm going to ask you about growing up in Arizona, with all of the energy that's in Arizona and the vortexes and Sedona, all of that.
Mhm.
Did you have any experiences growing up at all?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any like this was a pivotal moment of my life, but being around it, like I just this is kind of what I was saying. I'm not sure it's like there was certain moments where things happened, but there were moments that or just things that happened throughout my childhood that felt like it was leading me there. Because like my great aunt is very into spirituality and witchcraft. Like she gives me the fun, like for my birthday she just gave me like the biggest jar of lavender I've ever seen. I was just like, thank you.
That's awesome.
So, and like all these essential oil, like she's just into like, I'm not sure if it's fully witchcraft or she's just kind of like hippy dippy a little bit, but I've just been around that. I've obviously gone to Sedona like so many times throughout my life. And I actually think now that you bring that up, that was like probably a huge part of seeing that in high school and being like, wow, this is really something that isn't as like, it is niche, but there are places where you can go and really feel involved in it. And
Yeah.
so I just like to this day, Sedona is one of my favorite places. I think that obviously like a lot of witchy stuff now is getting kind of commercialized and like
Trendy. Yep.
it's trendy, but it's definitely there's just like a feeling there. It's just so I mean it's beautiful, but it's just all like, and just to be in that mountain and to see the red rocks and like everything kind of it just feels a certain way, and I always feel so good when I go there. But even like I like going into the woods like northern Arizona, like that all feels like that too. I have no idea why, because it's super small town, like old people, like Flagstaff, Prescott, but it just feels like there's something about Arizona to me that even when I go there now, just to Phoenix, like my hometown, I just feel like so connected with myself. Literally the last time I was there, I didn't realize, well, I did like a year or two ago, I saw people that are like super into astrology are like, yeah, there's usually places like on earth, if you look at like your chart that you thrive in, like there's certain split places that you'll feel better. I really think that Phoenix is one of those places for me, because I think that's Phoenix is like a huge reason why I even did music. Like I had to like deal with everything that was going on, and like there's just nothing to do out there, so it like pushed me to be creative. It pushed me to focus and be connect with myself. So it's definitely like a spot for me personally to like feel way in tune with myself and just like back into my own my roots.
Awesome. So I know that at least from my experience, that people who tend to have maybe spiritual experiences when they're younger tend to gravitate, even if they forget about it, they tend to gravitate to some type of spiritual practice as they get older. So have you had any type of, I'll say, paranormal experiences, or anything
Actually,
that was like, that's weird?
surprisingly, no. I've actually wondered that. Like I think it's so strange because everything, like I haven't gone through anything that I'm like, this is like too good to be like this, what just happened, you know what I mean? Like I haven't had any moments like that. Sometimes I do believe in like um just I do believe in like certain things coming into your life at a certain time and certain people I've met, and like, but there's never like moments that I was like, wow, like I'm exactly like this is like just this crazy thing is happening to me and awakening me. But I do think it's just a culmination, like I said, of just moments and people and things that pushed me to be where I am. But I wish I had some like experiences. Like, I have so many friends that are like, yeah, like this happened to me when I was a kid, or this, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like when I was, the weirdest thing that happened to me when I was a kid is my grandma telling me that I used to like, she thought I was like astral projecting or something, because she told me I used to like um I used to say like I'm gonna go do this, or I'm gonna go to like walk over, like I'm gonna go to the mall, or I'm gonna go do this or that, and I'd literally like just say I was gonna go somewhere, and I would sit there and I would like meditate, and I was like really
Oh,
young,
wow.
and I was like, wow, that's really strange. And I had the weirdest, yeah, I think the weirdest like spiritual thing is I had a lot of actually this might be another reason why I got into witchcraft, because I had weird dreams when I was in high school. Like I would have really aware, like I would have so much awareness in my dreams, and being able to like navigate them, change them, and like explore them. And I was like, this
Oh,
is like,
wow.
yeah, I was like, that's like, I would just be able to like talk like to like just anybody that was there, or I could ask questions, I could go places. And
Wow.
that's
So
very,
lucid dreaming. Lucid
yeah,
dreaming.
like it was.
Wow.
And I would have actually now,
Wow.
I think there's like one slightly paranormal thing, but I think I can't tell if it was just a bad dream, like a nightmare, or like something. But I used to have really bad, so I'd have lucid dreaming, and sometimes that would lead to like dark things. So I had like a couple scenarios where I would have like sleep paralysis, but it would be like the same thing all the time. And like there would be like something
Mm,
sitting on my chest, and I would look
yeah.
it up, and that was like a thing, like it was supposedly like an entity or something. I was like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
But I would have weird dreams, and I used to
Wow.
always like look into it, because I was like, I think obviously people have weird dreams all the time. You can be like, oh, I was like on a river with like some famous person, but I would have like such awareness that it kind of freaked me out. But that was
Yeah.
weird.
Wow.
Other than that, like I feel like I can never tell if it's just like a coincidence, or if like all of these things led me here.
I'm gonna say that if you're having sleep paralysis, I mean, that's
Mhm.
pretty deep. Like that's, and lucid dreaming. Like, I know so many spiritual people who try to do that, and it's a very
Yeah,
hard thing to do. So like that's insane.
yeah.
Like that's
I
amazing.
stopped too. That's why I was like, I think it was at a time when like I could have. I'm sure I could tap back into it, but I remember at that time looking stuff up about it, because I was like, if I am aware enough, like I can train myself to like navigate these things. And so I
Absolutely.
would try to lucid dream around then, to kind of like see how far, because it can like lead to like astral projection, and like you can do multiple things in the realm of dreaming and sleeping. So I was
Absolutely.
kind of exploring it, but it's like stopped now. So I think it's just something, if I wanted to, I could tap into it. And at
Absolutely.
17, I was definitely like, what does it mean? Like, let me try to figure this out. So
Wow. That's pretty amazing. Like that is definitely something I would consider paranormal.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
things.
I guess I didn't.
I actually just got an image, if you don't mind me tapping in. I got an image of like you automatic writing. Do you automatic write, or have you had a situation where you started writing and you're like, where the hell did all of this come from? Like I'm just
All the
seeing you
time.
like just, yeah. So like I'm like being told that you're automatic writing, so you're being helped by spirit, and they're kind of writing through you. So like if you're just like writing, you're like reading, you're like, what the hell? Like I would have written this.
Yeah,
Like where did
yeah.
this come from? Like this, I'm seeing
I
an
do
image
that
that you
all
do
the time.
automatic writing.
Yeah, there's
Yep.
like I usually, either it's a process and I'm like, okay, like I have to think really hard, but there's times when like a song, I can like bang out a song in like 5 minutes, and I'm like, like, and after, it's kind of like, you know how people, they say like they zone out when they're driving, and then they get there and they're like, how the hell did I get?
Yes.
It was like
Yep.
that. Like it's like that
Hmm.
sometimes when I write, and I've definitely thought of that, because I'm like, what, like it feels bigger than me when that happens, and it feels like it's, so even if it's about something personal, that it's just like I kind of have always felt like that, like it's supposed to have happened, or it's something that needed to be said in a certain way. I don't know why, but
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm being told that like you have spirit guides that are helping you specifically with the writing, because you're supposed to, or they want to help you to bring out spirituality through your music. Because, people are so artistic, and people tend to accept music more than just, if someone were to come out and say, hey, this is me. And so I
yeah,
feel like this is something that you're meant for. You're meant to kind of bring these two things together. And so I
that's
do
so
see that you're
crazy.
being worked through.
Specifically this album that I've been working on, I wish I could tell you the title, but I can't yet. But
I know, that's okay.
like it's about me. It's like literally about like stripping back all like the pop star bullshit, all this and that, and just like talking about me, and like being normal, and like just like, this is my actual life and my day-to-day. Like I don't need to try to make it look glamorous or this or that.
Exactly.
So that's just interesting to me, because I feel like more than ever I've really, that seemed to be the point when it was just like pouring out of me, when I was like, okay, let me just like not try to be
Mhm.
clever about it, and not just like talk about it, whatever I wanted to
Yep.
say that day. So that's very interesting. Also, I've never, as long as I've been into spiritual, like the spiritual stuff, which is insane, I've never tried to like connect with my spirit guides. So that's like really comforting, I guess. 'Cause
Yeah, you don't need to, because they're working with you.
Yeah.
They're there. They're so
Yeah,
there.
I'm glad that
And
they
yeah, and they said, say the word. If you want the lucid dreaming, or if you want anything, they're there. So just say the word. It's up to you. But yeah, I find it very interesting. One, the Greek mythology, obviously Siren and Medusa, and then, Unfortunate Soul and Ghost of Mine. I'm like, oh my God, intuition. Um, it just really called out to me.
I feel like I didn't even notice that a lot of my songs have that kind of theme going on. Like that's
Are you
crazy.
seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. See, that's what happens when you're your authentic self and you have your spirit guides helping
Yeah, it's
you.
like it happens before you do. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was happening.
That's why when I saw you, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to listen to her music. And then our producer was like, we got to get her on the show. And I'm like, oh my God, I would love to
I'm so
have her on the
happy. Literally,
show.
when I saw like, oh, it's kind of like spiritual witchcraft, I was like, yes, a million times. Like here.
Yes.
So thanks
Yes,
for having me.
absolutely. I geek out when it comes to spiritualism and just talking about this stuff. And I started off with witchcraft as well. So this is a very passionate subject for me. Um, I have since then realized that I am a psychic medium, but witchcraft is still a part of me. I
Yeah.
also do shamanism, which, as you know, is very, very much the same thing. It's just, basically, a different name. But I also noticed the elements that you have tattooed on you. So I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah,
And
those
then
were
the
like some of my
large air
first.
sign.
Yeah, like I got these were some of the first tattoos I got because I knew I wanted these ones are like they're done so horribly, but I don't even care. Like I'm like, they're just I like them. And then
I
obviously
think they're badass.
the pentacle, because I was like, I need some protection immediately. I literally wear this necklace every day with a little pentacle. But yeah, I was gonna ask you like how I guess just a little bit about like your journey with it and your like psychic abilities because that's so interesting to me and I don't think I've ever talked to somebody
Absolutely.
that feels that.
Well, I would love to be interviewed. No. So I had experiences when I was younger, but when you're young, you don't know that they're experiences because it's all you know.
Yeah.
But when you get older and you notice that other people aren't talking about these weird things, I too had like really weird dreams. I would have dreams of like as a little kid living a different life, and I would wake up and know every detail.
Mhm.
And I would have dreams where I was being told things were going to happen and then it would happen. And then I found witchcraft when I was in high school, and it was the thing, like I said, that really spoke to my soul. I felt like, there still was, okay, there's God, there's religion in my life because of my family, but I felt stifled with
Mhm.
religion, whereas with witchcraft, I felt like, I don't want to say limitless, but I just felt more myself. I
Yeah.
felt there was so much more out there, and there was so much more to me that I needed to find out.
Mhm.
And from that point, I started feeling spirit. But again, I had already been feeling spirit when I was younger, but I just kind of blocked it out.
Yeah.
Every kid is scared of the dark, but there were just certain things that, I'm like, I see them, I'm going to ignore them. Um, but as you get older and as certain things happen in your life, as you'll know, sometimes your spirituality will kind of take a back seat because you have to
Mhm.
deal with what's going
Yeah.
on, and you
100%.
come back to it. And that's so normal to, have it come and
Mhm.
go. Um, but as I started getting into the witchcraft and then shamanism and then Reiki, because
Mhm.
I went to a Reiki session for stress and it completely opened me up. And I started seeing spirits, and all of my experiences kind of came flooding back. But I started noticing that I was getting these feelings, I was getting images, I was starting to know things that I shouldn't know. And the more I kind of tapped into it, I was like, holy shit, I'm talking to spirit. Like, I'm
Stories.
literally talking to spirit. Like, I mean, I would sit and meditate just for myself, no purpose. and I would literally hear people talking to me, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, am I going crazy? Like, this is bizarre. And the more I tapped into it, and so like I had no, like, I didn't think I was going to go in, trying to be a psychic medium, because I didn't even know what it was until I started reading. And I'm like, holy shit, like all of these experiences I've had, I think I'm a psychic medium. This is crazy. I grew up seeing psychics, and then I was like, wow, that would be awesome to do. But I never once thought that that was who I was.
Yeah.
And the more I just gave in and just sat in the stillness and just kind of, felt who I was, the stronger and stronger it became, because I started like trusting.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like that's going to happen to you as well. I think you kind of already know that. But because they're already working with you, you're doing automatic writing, and like they're just like right there. And I just want to say, you have quite a few behind you. You have quite a few spirit guides behind you. So it's beautiful, actually.
It's like
So
I'm like,
yeah, like I'm seeing them standing right behind you, and like you have like a bunch of spirit guides and ancestors who are like so behind you, and it runs in your family anyway. So I mean, it was bound to happen. It was bound to happen.
crazy. That is like interesting to think about. My family is very musical as well. Like my entire dad's side, like they all play guitar and sing. And it's like, it's just so weird. Like it just felt like where I was supposed to be. But I think it really is just a matter of me, like finding situations and people that will just bring that out of me when the time is right. Because I think since I don't, I've always been doing magic by myself, and I think I'm just like waiting to kind of be pulled to like a moment where it's just like, okay, I'm going to start like opening that door a little bit more, because I think keeping it at like an arm's length has been fine for me like right now. And I think lately it's definitely been like knocking at my door a little bit, because I also just coincidentally met so many people that are like, oh, I do Reiki, oh, I'm a medium, or like one of my best friends is like, yeah, like she goes to like, she's super into witchcraft, and she sees people all the time, and she's like, no, like we need to go do this and that. I'm like, dang, like I'm really being pulled to like just explore
You
that.
are literally, yeah.
And also like I'm in my mid 20s, and I think it's something that I could not have like processed correctly until now. So even though like at 17 and 18 I was like really like, I really think this is the right path, like I think I'm sure whatever force and spirit guides are there, like are aware that I need to ease my way into it, because I struggle a lot with other things, and I think I'm like finally at a point where I'm balanced, so I can like handle a little bit of that. So
there's so much with it, and it's all wonderful, but same thing, when I was a teenager, I couldn't handle the magnitude of it. And so when I felt like myself getting stronger, I shut down. I got so scared because I didn't know, again, I was by myself just like you were. So it's like, what's right, what's wrong? And then it's like, all right, I'm really starting to feel spirits around me. And at the time, Hollywood is in your brain and you're like, fuck that shit. I don't want any spirits around me, ghosts. It really is, until I was old enough to really understand it. And now I know it's not scary. It's so much of what we grew up on, the scary movies and what people portray and what other people think it is.
100%.
But when you embrace it, it's so just pure and beautiful and unconditional. And once you put that trust and you just say, hey, I'm down for the ride.
You're like,
let me tell you, yes, let me tell you, it will come so fierce, but again, it won't give you too much more than you can handle. You know what I mean? And you always have that power to say, all right, ease up a little bit, but I really do feel and see that you're already working with it, and they're working with you through your automatic writing.
I actually had this moment like earlier this year in February, or I think it was February, where one of my songs went kind of viral because of witchcraft. Like, because I was talking about how I had like manifested luck around the song. Like I was like really just pouring my energy into like just focusing in on making my music a safe space for other people, and like just even I think I honestly just started like my own personal journey of like releasing this song and mutually doing a ritual and a spell around then to like release this burden on me of like any expectation, any control, like things that I'm trying to control that are not in my control, all this stuff. I was like, okay, from here on out, like just I just need to let it be what it is. And I like posted about it.
Yes.
It literally got I don't even know, like 400,000 likes, and that song like did really well. And I think I remember like feeling it, like I felt this energy when that was happening, and I was like, wow. I just all I did was like manifest that people find this feeling within me in my music if they need it, you know what I mean? And it literally, like I was just I felt the buzzing of like what that manifested and what like that was serving for people. And it was so interesting. I was a little scared because I was like, am I like, is this, I just want to make sure I'm not like doing this wrong. And because of like what you project is what you get back. And I was like, I just want to make sure I have intentions and this and that.
Setting the intention. Yep.
It is really, but I every time I go into anything, it's I make sure like, okay, like I need to be in a certain headspace, have the like these certain intentions and speak them, and really hone in like what I'm trying to project so that I don't get hit with something I'm like, oh, it's not really what I meant. But yeah, so it's just like interesting, and it is kind of scary, but I think it's just when you're ready to embrace it, it's there. So I'm excited.
Absolutely.
I think I feel it building. So
yes, I feel that for you as well. And you've had like I'm hearing you've had a drip campaign throughout your life, like little things, little experiences here and there to kind of prepare you. They don't want to like just kind of hit you all at once.
That's so funny because that's what I'm doing with my album, and it's called a waterfall campaign. So I'm like the spirituality is also just like,
get out of here. That's crazy.
So
that's why they said that.
Yeah, they're like
drip campaign, and I'm like, okay. Well, there's your confirmation right there.
That's so funny.
That is crazy. See, all these synchronicities are happening, and you're definitely on the right path. Yeah, I absolutely love. No, okay, so I wanted to ask you, so besides witchcraft, and I know that you've said that you have friends you're running into that are opening up and saying, hey, we're doing Reiki and all that stuff. Have you experimented, or have you had any like a Reiki session or anything like that? Have you done anything besides?
No, surprisingly, I've never been to a psychic. I've actually wanted to go.
Well, you have now.
Yes. Which was like already I just needed this in my life. So I'm like, I really need to like have a full session privately so like I can like talk about I also, I haven't really had anything. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've had like any experiences where I've like seeked it out or like gone to any sort of person. I know that I was very close to, I literally like through this pop-up thing with my friend, and like there was a medium there, and I was like, oh, I want to like go talk to her, because also I've had somebody, I know with that type of stuff, it's like whatever comes to you, you're not literally going to be like, oh, you want to talk about that, like it's not always just going to be there. But whether it's about me or my career, I've also had somebody like very, very close to me pass away that I've like just, I'm like, okay, if it happens and like if somebody wants to tell me about it, like that'd be great. But I've definitely been getting there, because I have recently just been like, I either like I want to go to a psychic, or like maybe I should like seek out a medium for this specific thing. But it's I guess it's just like I always am so skeptical on like people that really are passionate and really feel that, and like people are just like not actually into it, because it's hard to tell in LA. There's so many people that are really into it, and so many people that
I've heard that. I've heard that. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, a lot of people tell me you got to go to LA because it's so acceptable there. Like everybody around the corner is a
Yeah, I'm
psychic
sure
medium
there's
or
like a
anything, but
yeah, I'm sure there's like a group of people where it's like they're all legit and like anyone they recommend is really cool, but I just haven't
yeah,
found that yet, and I'm scared to like go to somebody that I'm just like I can feel that they're not connected to their work, you know?
absolutely. That you bring up a good point, and that's something that we talk on our show that when you're looking for a psychic medium or even a healer, you have to have that energy with the person, you know, like if they don't feel right to you, then don't go to them.
Yeah.
So you really need to connect. And the good thing about you is that you have that ability already to kind of feel out energy with people around you. So you know, if you can trust somebody or not. I don't think you have an issue with that.
Yeah, I can read
So
well actually. But I think it's yeah, I think it's just like I think it'll happen when it happens. I'm also like the same way that I'm kind of waiting to be like pushed into all the door opening. I feel like I'm also waiting
mhm,
for that with a psychic where it when it happens, it'll happen. Or if I'm like, oh, you know what? Like I'm here and there's because I've been presented the opportunity and I'm kind of
mhm,
like, you know, like we're at this place and there's a psychic, but I feel like when it's supposed to happen, like I'll be like, I want to do that today, or like this person feels right. So I think I'm just
absolutely.
for that. But I definitely want to like explore healers too, because I think that's a whole other, just like Reiki and that type of stuff, I think is a whole other like weight lifted that I haven't experienced. And I just know I probably
Yeah.
experience that and like explore that just that type of healing versus because I've just really my whole life been like pushed to therapy and all this stuff, which is really helpful. But I think
Yeah.
some of this the feeling these feelings and like this weight on me is beyond just talking about it, and it's like an energy
Yes.
healing. So
Yes.
definitely
A spiritual type of healing that sometimes, and again, therapy is great. I've gone to therapy,
yeah.
but I had somebody that was helping me with Reiki, and them together was so helpful, like
Mhm.
helping my spirit, my soul heal from things of the past. And even if you're into, you know, past lives, things that might have happened in a past life, you know, and even things that maybe you've witnessed in your lucid dreaming, you know,
Yeah,
processing all that stuff,
yeah.
and anything, you know, and sitting and going to the mall even though you were in the room.
Yeah, I'm
You know,
literally
like
this and I think yeah, I think I definitely like have some because the thing is, I think with spiritual healing, it's just with therapy, you kind of unpack your trauma. And sometimes I feel um, like I said, the talking and the reworking it, it's like there's something in my spirit. I feel like that's like hurt, or like there's a child of inside of me that's just like, oh,
mhm,
I need to be like seen or heard or like felt in this way.
heard. Yep.
And
Hmm.
yeah, I think there's just like a part of me that even if I can make these baby steps in therapy that are amazing and that help, that there's like a root somewhere that needs to be like healed, you know? So I think,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna explore that soon because I know too many people too that I really do trust as far as healing that I think would like just be such a good place to start, and we can already have that trust and that energy there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like with spiritual healing, either Reiki or shamanism, because I feel like with the elements, I think you'd really connect with shamanic healing. So if you know someone who does shamanic healing, I think that would be good. Even drumming, if you've
Mm,
ever been around drumming. But when we heal an aspect of ourselves, sometimes we forget that we have to then kind of put something back in its place, because when you
yeah.
take that, you're leaving, you know, like almost like a gap. And that's what like the spiritual healing does. It goes and it fills in, you know, that gap. When you're healing, it goes in
Mhm.
and it heals all of that. And that's why I feel like, you know, traditional therapy and healing go hand in hand, because you
Yeah.
get that healing mentally, but then you need to kind of put back something, you know,
Which
fill
is
in that hole.
that's such a good way to describe that too, because I think that really like actually puts into words why so many people find comfort in feeling sad and feeling certain like just falling into bad habits, self sabotage and stuff because there is like a pit there when you're like, oh, I
Yes.
don't need to carry that anymore. It's like, well, what do I carry? So
Yes,
they're just
absolutely.
replacing it with something that's not the same thing, but something that still like kind of sucks the life out of you. And I think that's kind of what I'm saying with like needing the spiritual healing and therapy, because I feel like I'm always just finding something else to like, I'm just like slightly turning the wheel versus kind of like fixing
Hmm.
it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't, sometimes you don't go into, okay, well, for so long I've been carrying this burden, now what?
Yeah.
Like now
Yeah.
I feel empty. I need to kind of replace that, but replace it with something positive. And sometimes we don't do that. So we're left feeling empty. And that's why sometimes we fall back on old habits, because
And it's
it's
easier.
comfortable. It's easier.
Like
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
well, I know I can fill it with that because I felt that before. And I think it is like also the self-discipline it takes to replace that feeling with a positive one, because
Yes.
sulking feels good, and it's like it feels good to feel bad sometimes, and that's why. And I am like the queen of sulking. I've like just recently, like that's what I was saying in the beginning of the year, something shifted where I just like stopped doing that, and I think that that's why I'm ready to explore that side of myself. But yeah, I definitely understand like that feeling good to feel bad thing. It's
Hmm.
like a vicious cycle.
It really is. I've done my own healing work and still doing, and I think you're always going to be, doing some type of healing work,
Yeah, of course.
but as long as you're aware of the work you need to do, and like you said, doing the shadow work, then you're
Mhm.
already way ahead of others. So that's,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. So believe it or not, our time is wrapping up. This
That was
was
so fast.
I know I can chat with you like forever, because I absolutely love talking about spiritual topics, and
Same. And also like if you guys ever wanted to do it again when your like co-host is back, like I would love that.
yes. Oh, yes,
Okay.
that would be amazing. Yes, she would be very grateful. I feel horrible that she has COVID, and we send our love to her.
Yeah, maybe I'll do
Um,
like a little Reiki session. I'll do a couple of these things and like I'll update and we can talk about it.
yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. And let me know, because I feel some knocking on the door. So just keep that in there. Nothing scary, nothing scary.
Yeah,
It's all
I'm
love.
scared.
um, but before we wrap up, there's two things I wanted to say. First, I'm giving you the Sailor Moon Award for the most awesome guest
I
of
love Sailor
Sensing
Moon.
Spirit. I know.
I don't think you realize like I was Sailor Moon
No, I
for
totally agree.
Halloween.
No, I just had to, because you're the coolest guest that we've had on SSKK, and I absolutely love Sailor Moon, and I found out that you love Sailor Moon, so I had to
Oh my
award you with
God.
this award.
Thank you.
And to wrap it up, I have a question for you. So this is a thinker. So everyone has a vision of what the afterlife will be.
Mm.
But if Kailee was the architect of the afterlife, what would it look like?
So literally I can choose, and this is just where we go. I'm not sure. I feel like because the afterlife is so subjective, like it's like what is your paradise? What is your heaven? I think like that's what I would give to people. Like I think I would just like, but it's more like a feeling. I think sometimes people don't even know what that feeling of warmth comes from. And so
Mm.
I guess like when I picture the afterlife, even whether or not I'm the architect, like I hope that it's just like everyone finds like that moment or like a day that they wish would go on and a feeling to live in. Because it doesn't have to be even like we have these, like we're these beings again and we're like living our life all over again, but just like that feeling of warmth forever, like just being in the sun and like being around people you love, like whatever that is for you, to be there. And I think for me,
Love
it would
that.
probably just be like being like somewhere in Phoenix with my family and my boyfriend and like with people that aren't here anymore. And like, I think that would be my afterlife.
Love that. That's awesome. Okay, so what's next for you? What's coming up for you in the near future?
So as we talked about, it's kind of, I'm having this like waterfall release with my album. So we have a couple singles left, couple little drips, and it's all leading up to this album that I've been working on for a year now, which comes out in October. So I'm like super excited. I just got some info that I could possibly be doing a tour next year. So just, I'm like really getting excited. It's going to be the best Halloween vibes. That's when I personally feel the most spiritual. So
Love it.
I'm so excited
Yes.
to share it. There's gonna be a couple of videos and stuff that are coming, but yeah, I think just this album, like I need all my like witches to just find this album, because I think it's also what we've talked about, just finding the most like authentic me, and it's just kind of like poured out into this project.
Yes.
And I would just love for people to hear it and like feel that sense of like, oh shit, like I can kind of take this veil off and just be myself. So that's what's next for me.
I love that you said veil, because October, the end of October, the veil is the thinnest. So that's perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we here at Sensing Spirit with Kristen and Kimmy, we're huge fans of October. Like that is our jam. So
the best vibes. I fought so hard for that. I was like, it needs to be out in like October. It's just the sweet spot. It's amazing.
Absolutely. So we are definitely going to put out that intention for everybody to go listen to it. And we're going to send all of the vibes for everyone who needs to feel it, who resonates with it, that they are immediately drawn to it. And we will do everything we can to obviously advertise that. And when you're doing your tour and you're in our area, I will totally be a groupie cheering you on.
Once I post it, if it hopefully happens, just message me. I love meeting fans. I love going to like even people that I'm not friends with, or like I'm just like, if I'm in your town, let me know. So yeah, I'd love to have you guys.
Absolutely. And again, we would love to have you back on the show. Can't wait to hear some more of your experiences. And thank you everybody for listening to us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.